Ryan Giggs has suggested that your team does not have what it takes to stay up this season. Do you agree? Alrighty, here we go. Hello and welcome to episode 32 of my Blackburn Rovers Football Manager 2017 save. Now, the last episode, of course, was the double... No, it was... I was going to say it was going to be the double bill episode, but it wasn't actually. It was our 1-0 loss against Liverpool. Before that, we had a double bill episode where we surprisingly managed to beat Man United 2-1 and, of course, Spurs 1-0 as well. After the last episode, we then went on to beat Newcastle 1-0, a goal by Andre Gray. We then beat Liverpool 2-1, new signing Danny Bath getting on the score sheet from a header from a corner. Everton managed to claw one back. In fact, they scored first, but fortunately, Martin Darun getting sent off in the 80th minute kind of made our life a little bit easier trying to see the game out. But again, both these games were really, really tough. We've not exactly played phenomenally this season, but it just seems like results have been going our way. We then went away against Rafa Benitez's Leicester, and of course, me and Rafa Benitez over the course of this series have kind of developed a weird rivalry because obviously we finished second in the Championship when he finished top of the Championship with Newcastle and so on. And it was always interesting playing Newcastle with him in charge. Sometimes he'd win, sometimes I'd win. And unfortunately for us, this time round, he emerged victorious. Now, you look at the stats, we pretty much match Leicester, really. They didn't play that well, they didn't create that many opportunities. But Christian Fuchs scored 2 free kicks. And I guess there's 2 ways you could look at it, really. From one perspective, we perhaps should have known that he's a really good free kick taker. I'm not quite sure exactly what his free kick taking is. It says 15 to 18, so either way pretty high. So yeah, we should have probably been wary of the fact that they've got a really good free kick taker and be careful, you know, getting stuck in on the edge of the box in dangerous areas like that. But even when opposition players have players with free kick taking attributes that are that high, normally the conversion rate is nowhere near as good as it was for Christian Fuchs this game. So they went 2-0 up. We were constantly knocking on the door, but it just seemed like our goal would never come. We got a goal, Danny Graham, from a corner in basically the last touch we had of the ball, last kick of the game, but unfortunately it weren't enough, and it just makes you think maybe if Fuchs could have only scored 1 free kick, we may have been able to salvage a draw. So far not really having much luck against teams that kind of start with L, but that's life. And then we beat West Brom 1-0 away at the Hawthorns in the EFL Cup. Now, I said earlier on in the last episode that I want to try and go on a decent run in the EFL Cup, and to be honest, I would have preferred to come up against Portsmouth or even Brentford or Fulham, to be honest. We've got Watford. I don't really like playing against Watford. I always find that Walter Mazzari's 3 at the back formation is a bit of a clusterfuck in Football Manager. It's always hard to play against CPU managers who play with the whole wing-back thingamabob. Very difficult to break them down, even though we beat them 3-0 early on in the season, so that's kind of a positive, but we'll wait and see. It did take until extra time. It did take having to substitute on Andre Gray to get the win against West Brom. We really weren't the better side, if I'm fully honest. They had more shots on target than we did. We had more possession, but we really struggled to break them down. We kind of knew what to expect from them. It's West Brom. It's a Tony Pulis side. They're always going to be tough to break down. They're always going to play with 2 very, very pacey strikers. So us fielding a somewhat weakened side, we had to obviously make a lot of tactical changes, drop our line and so on. We knew they'd be playing on the counter, so we had to make sure that really we were up for the battle. Kind of disappointed that Nano is yet to score, but we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see. He's not had that many opportunities. we've discussed this kind of set of games before where we kind of said, right, we'll make it a double episode. But what I'm actually going to do is, because I've spent quite a fair amount of time going through what happened since the last episode, I'm only going to really cover Arsenal this episode, and the next episode will just basically be the Chelsea game. So, yeah, generally speaking, it's not going to be a double episode, but you'll still get to see both games, which are really going to be massive games for us. We're currently second in the Premier League, just behind Liverpool, which really isn't too bad. We've not done too bad for ourselves, but I don't really think this will last. Our aim going into this season, even though according to the board it's to stay up in the league, obviously our real aim is to get a top half finish, which we were not capable of doing last season. So if we can get anywhere in the top half, I'd be pretty happy with that. Get another 40, 50 odd million to spend in the summer, and maybe we'll be able to start knocking on Europe. So I was actually looking to possibly bring in a player. I just can't, unfortunately, remember what he's called. Right, found him. It's Marco Piacca from Juventus. Now, he's valued at 18 million, 55k a week, and seems like quite a good player, a world-class player, to be honest. And there's a reason why he is currently at Juventus. It's because he is a very, very good player. Juventus offered him to us for 10 million quid, which really, for a player of this stature, for a player that's only 23 years old, I think would be quite a good signing. So offered the 10 million because we got around 20 million left from the summer. Spoke to him and his agent, but for me, his agent quite simply wanted too much money. He not only wanted 70k a week, which I'm not too fussed about the 70k a week, but he basically wanted a highest earner clause. So I thought about it a little bit, and I'm kind of thinking maybe if I wait until January, because his crossing ain't that great, and crossing is quite a big part of our game, and his passing ain't brilliant either. What I really liked were his physicals, and the fact that he gets into the opposition area and likes to run with the ball and cut inside from wings, which is really good. They're really good traits for our wide playmaker roles. So we'll have to wait and see. There's a big chance I might go back in for him again, particularly if no other teams come in for him. In terms of what teams are interested in him, he's got obviously a Chinese team interested in him, and Frankfurt. He's available for loan, so we might bring him in January on loan, test the waters with him if no one else goes in for him. If he does really well, make sure we've got a clause to buy him in there. If he does really well, like maybe he can, then he might be worth the highest earner clause. But I don't want to take too many risks just yet financially. In terms of other players, we're looking at João Dionisio, I think it's pronounced. He's Portuguese, 18-year-old goalkeeper. This guy looks class. Considering he's only 18 years old, and considering that we're going to basically end up signing him for a fee of 625k, I think we're definitely going to make money on this guy. I think he could end up becoming a starting member of our team in the future. I don't see why not. 18 years old, can only improve, especially when you consider that goalkeepers keep growing until, they're like in their late 20s. That's when really they're in their prime. Could improve his throwing and kicking as well as distribution, but most of the time we play out the back anyways, so maybe I think this guy could end up being a really good youth prospect for us. Now obviously we've got some other regens listed here that we kind of saw 2 episodes ago. The only other new regen I want to show you guys is Nuno Sousa, simply because we didn't know about him at the time. He currently plays for GD Chaves in the first division in Portugal. So again, our scouts have been pretty busy in Portugal. 80k initial fee, 8k after 105k basically, and I think this guy looks very good for 105k. His physicals on point. His favourite position at the moment is a midfield centre role, but he's only 17, so if he can improve his dribbling, then physicals are great in terms of cutting in. Train him out on the right. This is obviously all based on the assumption that we're still going to be playing with wide playmakers whenever this guy hits 20 years old or whatever. But you can see for a 17-year-old, this guy is bloody good. Physically great. Height could be a little bit better for the English league, but hopefully that'll improve. Jumping reach 6, but he's always going to be playing out on the wing. But the thing I like about him is if he can improve his dribbling, and obviously his passing and vision will only improve, and he's got decent flair as well for his age, he could be a really good versatile player in terms of he can play out on the wing, he can play, down the middle, just off the striker, you know what I mean? And we've got the right players to tutor him as well. I hope you guys can see how much we're investing in youth here. Obviously, I've been playing Football Manager for a very, very long time, and it doesn't really matter whether you go back 5 years, how I used to play the game and now. I always put a shit ton of emphasis on signing regens, and it's a massive part of how I play the game, particularly when you are a squad like Blackburn. Like when you're Man United or Man City, you don't really care about youth, because if, I don't know, Stoke buy this player for 105k, you've got so much money anyways that if you don't have to gamble on paying money for him and trying to train him up or whatever, you just let Stoke build him up and then pay 20 mil to Stoke when he's in his prime, that. So when we are a team like Blackburn that don't have that much money, it's really important that we do put emphasis on this part of our game. But anyways, so onto the big game against Arsenal. Arsene Wenger, of course, still in charge. Now, Arsenal are always a dodgy one, always very, very difficult to play against in this game. And really, you look at our past results against them: draw, loss, loss. So even though we did okay last season, we still lost against them twice. They're 7th in the Premier League at the moment, but if you offered me a draw right now with us being in 2nd place in the Premier League, I would definitely take a draw. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. They've got some quality players for those that might be new to the series, like Icardi and Cavani, that are capable of playing up front. And they did win the Premier League a few seasons ago in this save as well, so you can't rule them out at all. So the question is, are we going to get our first draw of the season, or are we going to make it 3 losses, or yet another win? I'll see you guys at Ewood Park. Here we go. Hello everyone, welcome to Ewood Park, where we face the mighty Gunners. So, as you can see, we're missing 2 key players if Football Manager were to cooperate, which at the moment it doesn't seem to want to. Hello? Hello, can I see my formation, please? Okay, apparently nothing works at the moment. If I pause? No, okay. What the hell? The game's broke. What's happening? Hello? Hello? Okay, there we go. Right, okay, so we're missing 2 key players, and they're in the form of... Sorry, I'm a bit lost now because it's their highlight. So we're missing 2 key players, and I'm kind of annoyed I've not been able to do anything for 18 minutes. It's like they've kind of like put me in a chair on the sideline and just put like sellotape over my mouth and locked me in. So yeah, we're missing Tiote, who's a very important player for us, so Hope Hackman has had to come in, and we're missing Gouffran as well, which means Craig Conway, a bit of a veteran for us now, is going to come in on the left. So yeah, Arsenal going with Cavani up front, more kind of a better aerial player, so we've gone with Dumic and Bath. You're probably saying, well, you always go with Dumic and Bath. Well, no, the past few matches that have kind of been off camera, I've been swapping around the centre-back partnerships a little bit. Callas has been coming in a lot because of his pace, so I find it's useful to have a pacier centre-back when you're up against a very fast striker. And that was very useful, for example, against West Brom, where they always play with 2 very pacey strikers. But yeah, Sanchez, Wilshere, Chamberlain. One thing that's worked really well for us, we did it against United, we did it against Spurs, is most of these big teams play 4-2-3-1s, and a lot of their play comes through the playmaker just playing off the striker, and it's worked really well where Tiote's man-marked Wilshere. Hope Akpan has been, not Wilshere, but the AMC. Akpan has, of course, been told to man-mark Wilshere. Whether Akpan will be capable of doing it with his 11 marking and whatnot, we'll have to wait and see. Cazorla and Silva were going in hard on in the middle of the pitch, and we've got to be careful of the overlapping fullbacks too. For that reason, we're going with defensive fullbacks on either wing, because most of Arsenal's attacks will be coming down the wings. In terms of what we've changed instruction-wise, we've of course dropped slightly deeper. As we always do, we like to start games off defensive for the first 10 minutes, but unfortunately I've kind of been dead for the first 19 minutes, so not much we can do. And in terms of what else we've changed, it's more or less the same, because obviously we like to tweak as we go along. But before we do that, let's see what the hell happens with this highlight. We've gone with Gillas and Andre up front as we apply the pressure. And to Arsenal, as you can see, this is the defensive mentality you see. Drop deeper on a defensive mentality leaves you too deep, and I think we could end up conceding here because of being too deep, and we've just about gotten that ball away. Thank God for that. You know, I would have been fuming if we'd bloody conceded from there. And now we're going to go back to our normal attacking mentality and go from there. Not really too fussed about being on an attacking mentality because both our fullbacks won't really go forwards anyways, because normally we have them on automatic, and that's when the global mentality really affects them poorly and leaves us exposed at the back. So even with an attacking mentality, what it will do is it will kind of vary everyone bar our back four, maybe perhaps defensive midfielders. So I'm not too worried about that. But here we go. I've gone with Kajura in the middle of the park. He offers a bit more experience than Karembe does. I think he deserves it as well, because I think it was against Man United where he scored a free kick. So, you know, I kind of thought, let's give him a run around against a big team like Arsenal. So we've gone defensive for the past few minutes as Bath plays it direct towards Nabil Gillas, who plays the ball to Andre Gray, and we begin the counter-attack. Andre Gray, he's down in the box, and the referee, who goes by the name of something East, has given us a penalty. R. East, Robert East probably. I don't know what he's going to be called. He could be called Robert East, Ron East, but to be fair, I don't care, because Andre Gray, he's missed a penalty already this season, which was off camera, but he's going to score this one, which he does. I thought he just about missed it. I thought Petr Cech was going to save it. Andre Gray's 6th goal of the season. Glad he's not let me down, because normally our main penalty taker is actually Danny Graham, but he's not actually taken that many of them so far for us this season, because every time we've kind of had one, it's been Gillas up front instead of Andre. But it was nice to see that linkage play between the two. So we've got a 1-0 lead now. And I'm actually kind of chuffed with this, because obviously we're missing two key players in Gouffran and Tiote, but Arsenal have not really been able to do much damage. As you can see, I've only had one shot on target. We're looking okay. No need to change things too much just yet. Stay on a defensive mentality for the first 5 minutes of the half. Then we'll, rather than move to attacking, try and move to something a little bit more control-friendly. Try and hold on to the ball. Try and frustrate Arsenal. That's really what we want to do. Drop the tempo a little bit as well to something more normal. And shorter passing as well to try and hold on to the ball a little bit more. And yes, as the second half kind of comes on, we'll start bringing in fresh legs. As Augustinsson, well, talk about shorter passing. Well, he is a defensive fullback, so his passing is set to be slightly more direct, but that's not good enough. Chamberlain comes in. Oh, what? Such a poor goal to concede. Kadura really should have won that ball back in midfield. Conway getting caught out. But for me, goalie should have saved that. Goalie should have saved that for me there. Augustinsson on a 6.3. Can't really say I'm surprised here. What we're going to do is we're actually going to change our fullbacks to fullback defensive now, because flipping heck. Because Augustinsson, for me, was the one that gave the ball away there, which was, it was needless. So Fabio's going to come on right-footed, but he can play on the left as well, which is really good for us. Sam Byram hasn't had a phenomenal game really out on the right wing, but we've not really got anyone who can cover out on the right wing, so we'll keep things like this. I might have to move Andre over to the right wing if Sam keeps playing poorly, but we'll see. 65th minute, it's really kind of even at the moment. Demand more. Before I demand more of the players, I'm going to bring on Danny Graham. Superman for us. Gillas is tiring. Kadura can play out on the right actually, so I'm gonna make a bold gamble here. Now Demirbay is a bit of a weird one because he's not the biggest player in the world and he's not the strongest player in the world, but he's got great work rate and his tackling ain't too bad either. So I'm keeping faith in him that he is going to be somewhat sound defensively for us. So far, very, very even between us and Arsenal, but it does seem like they're going to have a corner. It's cleared by Akpan, but we do need to close down Adrian from this. Whips it to Oxlade-Chamberlain, and, well, okay then, yeah, just give Arsenal a penalty, why don't you? Roger East, that's what he's called. Didn't look like he did anything wrong, really, but we are more than likely going to concede this one unless Rajkovic can make himself a hero. Rajkovic is really inconsistent. Like, he has these games where he has these games where he plays amazing, but at the same time has games where he concedes just really, really dumb goals. Right, okay, so what can we do, really? Not much we can do. We've got to kind of throw the kitchen sink at him now. 10 minutes to go. We're losing and we're losing. So, yeah. Forget retaining possession. Forget working the ball into the box. Really pump it into the box. Take more risks. And be more expressive. We're going to turn Danny Graham into a target man as well. And Arsenal are such a bogey team for me. Such a bogey team. And we've matched them today, you know. We've not done too badly against them. But they're just such a bogey team for me. Push forward, unless they score now, which they do. And that's it. Game, set and matched to Arsenal. We're going to lose. And, yeah, that means we drop down from the top of the table. Icardi winning the header. And Luan at the back post. Not quite sure who that was. Fabio. Yeah. And there we go. Full-time whistle will be blown. And, yeah, Arsenal have come to Ewood. And they put 3 goals past us. Have I got much to say? I'm disappointed. Because we were 1-0 up at half-time. Yeah, it was only a penalty. But really, it didn't really seem like Arsenal were playing that much better than us. I think the turning point really was that penalty in the 82nd minute, and then we went far too aggressive, and it resulted in that 3rd goal coming, because I probably would have taken a draw, and I don't think we really overcommitted before that penalty. But Arsenal just honestly a bogey team for me in Football Manager. It does mean we drop down to 3rd place, but it's our 3rd loss of the season, which I'm not really chuffed about, but we are only 2 points off top of the league, who are Man United right now. Now, if Spurs win their next game, they could leapfrog us into 1st place as well. And chances are, if they win their game, they'll have a better goal difference than United as well. And the fact that we've got Chelsea coming up next doesn't really make our lives much easier. Chelsea have Guardiola in charge nowadays. And even though, again, they're 7th in the Premier League, it's going to be a very similar type of game. They're going to have a lot of possession, our Chelsea. In fact, Arsenal had a lot less possession than I thought they would. Yeah, I don't like letting Leeds slip, and I think that penalty was a turning point. But it was Arsenal. We beat United, we beat Spurs, we've lost to Liverpool, we've lost to Arsenal. So if we can get a point against Chelsea, particularly with it being away from home, or maybe all 3, because if you remember our first season back in the Premier League, we of course got the double over Chelsea. My record's pretty decent against Guardiola as well. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe it will leave us in a decent position. Even if we do lose to Chelsea, chances are United and Liverpool will probably go a few points clear, but we're still in a very comfortable position right now. 21 points. You can't win them all. And on that note, I guess it's going to be goodbye from me for this episode. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We've just surpassed 400 subscribers, which is fucking awesome. So big shout out to everyone that subscribed. We keep getting bigger and bigger, and hopefully as a result of the channel getting bigger and bigger, our results can get bigger and bigger. Just kind of disappointed with this Arsenal result, and I'm sick of Arsene Wenger kind of being my kryptonite. Why won't he retire already? Approach to sign. See you next time.